They'll show quotes.
Oh, I thought that was the quote.
We'll coach on that.
As the old saying goes.
That's like a meme now.
It should be.
In the words of Johnny Carson.
I'm not the But he said I wouldn't wish the first 7 years of comedy on my worst enemy.
You just got to get
there's
through
something,
you
true
just
about
got to
that.
do it.
Yeah.
Is that his comedy specifically?
That's probably.
Remember his first special laugh
It
took
would
7
worth the
years.
last 7, yeah.
Oh, I liked the first couple, but after that. So then what would you say are we like funny, awful stories here? Do you have any, give us a couple of really crazy road experiences, like sleaziest motel or worst encounter?
I got a couple in one recent.
Nice.
So the greatest one.
It's good to know that the magic has transformed all the circumstances. But
It's still magic. One, I did a show at a minor league baseball game. They decided they want to have comedy in between innings.
Whose idea was that?
Oh yeah! In fact, it's in the movie. You can see it.
Yeah,
in the
you're
movie.
on a dugout.
Sounds like a real seventh inning stretch, so to speak.
You can hear my buddy who set it up
could
for
you
me.
stretch your material?
He didn't want to do it because he's like, I think he's a crowd work guy. He's like, I think they need someone with jokes more, and it probably would have been better the other way. But you can hear he's the only person laughing, and he's laughing at me, not with me.
Of course.
And so he's cracking up, but you don't see it on there. Later, the starting pitcher is coming out, and I'm dying. So I just said, oh my God, here's the pitcher. Let's give it up. And he flips me off. He just gives me the finger as he walks in the dugout. So that was kind of funny. But just a week ago, and this had never happened. I'm now going on 19 years into comedy.
Wow.
Punched a guy last week.
Hey, congratulations.
Do tell.
So here's the story. So we were doing a DVD recording. This one guy set it up and he said, hey, why don't we do like all of us together will be on one DVD and we could each sell it. And I was like, that's a great idea. And he was putting money up. So we met in Wairika, California, which is up near the border, Oregon and California. Mm-hmm. And we doing 2 shows on Saturday night. The end of the first show, in between, me and one of the other comics are standing outside, and this guy comes out, big construction kind of worker, fat guy. He's tanked, and he comes up to me and he goes, and he was friends of one of the other comics, and but friends of friends. He didn't know him really well, but knew a guy that knew that guy well. So he comes up to me, he goes, "Oh my God, you were my favorite. You were the best. I love you. I see a lot of comedy. You're the best." He's being really effusively.
And then you just smacked him?
Complimentary. I was like, screw you. How dare you?
I've been doing this wrong.
There's this comic next to me who's my friend who I started with in San Francisco who was on the show. And it's always awkward when someone's being really nice to you, but he's not saying anything about the other guy, so it's that awkward. And I never know what to say. Yeah. And the guy's drunk, so you probably can't say anything anyways because it's not going to get through to him. So I'm just waiting for him to finish, and he's going on and on for like a minute. You were this, and blah, blah, I love it, and blah, I can't wait, blah, this. You were so good, and I've seen that. And then he notices the other guy, and he looks at him, and he goes, "Oh my God, you were awful. You were terrible." So now it's even worse. And I again, not close to punching him. That had nothing to do with this. I'm only just setting up the story. So he goes, "You were terrible," and my buddy's handling it perfectly fine. He's cracking up because we've all been in this both ways, where I've been the guy that he didn't like, and vice versa. And so he's like, "You were terrible," and my friend's like, "He's like, you're right, I'm terrible." And he goes, "No, well, you weren't bad, but the audience hated you." And he goes, "You're right. That's always been my problem is the audience." And he's laughing back. So finally the guy leaves, he goes, "I'll see you. I'm coming back to the second show." And we're like, great, So, I talked to my buddy and I'm like, "Oh, sorry, that always happens." He goes, "No, we've all been there, blah, blah, blah." So, all right. So fast forward. Now we're just about to start the second show and we're kind of in this little area behind the stage where there's a bathroom, a bar, and it also serves as our green room. So it's not much bigger than the room we're kind of in here, maybe 20 by 20 kind of thing.
And the lap of luxury.
Yeah, people are getting drinks. There's a line of 4 people in line for the the bathroom, and the guy walks. This guy comes back in because he's coming to the second show. I don't know if he was going to the bar or the bathroom. And me and 2 of the other comedians are standing there in a line. We don't know where to be right now. Right, we're waiting for the show to start in the next 5 minutes, and we happen to be 3 in a row, and I'm in the middle. And the guy looks at us and he's like, hey, I can't wait to see the show. And then he goes, "Oh my God, you're all standing in a row." And he puts his hand out like Mo would do, like Three Stooges lines. and to smack all of us in
Right.
the face, and he goes right up to the first guy who's the host, and the host goes, no, don't, and he goes, oh, come on, and he's like, no, and he just lightly puts his hand up and kind of lightly smacks him on the face, and then he gets to me, and I was like, no, and he's like, come on, and so he lightly smacks me on the face. All right, drunk guy, thank you. And he goes to the third guy, which is the friend of his, smacks him on the face, and we're like, okay, thank you, drunk guy, and he's like, blah, 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 and he goes on, he's talking, he's like, I can't wait to see this show, I hope it's different than the last one. He's like, come on, one more time, and he puts his hand up again to do the
Right.
low smack. And the first guy's like, no, and he lightly smacks him. He gets to me, and I'm done with the guy. You know what I mean? We're about to start the show. So he puts his hand up, and I grab his wrist, and I was like, no, like, stop. We're done. Move on. And he's like, oh, come on. And I just kind of, like, lightly, we struggle for a second. I kind of push him away. And then he takes, like, a little stronger swing at me, and I pull my chin back, and he misses me, like, okay, because he's drunk, right? I'm not, my prowess isn't that impressive, but I was able to easily move. And as he went past me, he then backhanded me on the other cheek, and it was like a nice, like, it made a smack that everyone, like, turned in the room.
Wow.
And just reflexively, I just, like, popped him right in the face. Like, it was like when someone's reaching on your plate, just that reaction. Like, I wasn't like, I have to punch this guy. It just naturally happened. The minute it was like, smack, like, and it goes a little bit to that, the famous Charlie Murphy, Rick James story. Mm-hmm. You can't smack a man in public and think there's going to be no repercussions for this. Like, and typical drunk guy. At first, he was like, "Whoa!" He stumbles back into the bar, and everyone's like, now rushing in to get between us, and he's like, "What the heck?" What? And then he's like, "What? It's my fault. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was my bad. I shouldn't have done that." And then it turns into, "Why'd you hit me so hard? I just smacked you. Let me talk to him." And then he's coming at me again. And it's so funny, just comedy, the way it's so glamorous. At first, people are like, "Cut him off. Get him back to his seat." And I was like, back to his seat? Like, what are you talking?
Good God.
Like, and I can't say anything. I can't be the voice of reason to be like, he can't be in the show.
Yeah.
I just punched someone, so I can't be the person trying to talk sense into people. But luckily, after 5 minutes of arguing with the guy, they're like, no, kick him out completely. So he wasn't at the show.
Came up to you.
It's a real shame for your buddy who just like went way up on comedy points. Like, no, he's a lot funnier than the guy who punched me.
Yeah. It's like came up later. I guess he was at another bar, and they're like, he's over there saying, like, you were his favorite. Why did you punch him? I was like, I didn't punch him because I was his favorite. I punched him because he smacked me.
It's one step away from having you smell a flower on his lapel.
Exactly. So, yeah, that was...
He's got a piano on a pulley system outside the door.
The only physical altercation I've had in comedy, and that was
fascinating.
For that many years.
Do you have a worst motel story?
Oh my God! There was a place in Oregon when I started called the Jason Inn, and we all used to always joke that it was named after
Freddie
Jason
working the front
from
desk?
thing. It was and it was terrible. I mean, it really looked like someone had been killed in there. And I remember I went one time on a road trip with this girl, and I was single at the time, and she was a single comic, and in general, and this is going to sound terrible. Listen, look at me. I'm not good looking. But in general, there are not a lot of good looking, more so now, actually. There are a lot of good looking women in comedy. But at this point, there wasn't. And this girl was very attractive for a comedian at that time. And so any other place, I probably would have hit on her or made a move. And it looked like someone had died in this hotel. We had to share a hotel room. And it was so bad that like any sexual thought was removed from my mind that I was just like, let's both just get through the night. And yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
That's not part of the kitch.
No, yeah. But years later I was like, oh my God, I was sharing a room with this beautiful girl. How did I not in my 20s, how did I not make a move on her? And then I think, oh, well, you were in this awful hotel. Why would you? Yes, why would you? I will take your mind off it.
So do you have like any like comedy dream remaining of something like?
Yeah, I would love to do Conan. Conan's kind of my the Letterman now.
Yeah.
He's that style. I think that Letterman. He's the one that's kind of kept up that kind of anti-establishment thing. I mean, Colbert's great as well. I would love to do any of those shows, but if there's something close to that, I would say it would be doing Conan.
Conan's your silver medal.
Yes, exactly. now getting to
backup
that
plan.
I would love to, one of those guys. Again, you grow up watching and loving him anyways, and that's how I felt about Letterman. Like, he's my guy. So, to get to perform in front of him would be,
Well, and also you're, a little older now.
Yeah.
Don't want to travel all the way across
Right,
the
why?
country. Do the show. Do
Go
the
to
show that you're in
right here in
town.
Hollywood, yeah.
You can Uber to Burbank.
Right, exactly. Oh my God, here's a funny story. So you can see in the movie, I did Ferguson when he was on. And so they picked us up in a limo. You're just talking like about the Uber coming around, but they sent a limo, and we get in the car. And again, I had already, maybe I was just starting the Letterman kind of,
The
dream,
quest.
like the quest of making this happen rather than waiting for it to happen. And again, talk about waiting for it to happen. There had been stuff that just fell my. I was at a showcase show in Santa Monica, and the Ferguson people were there to see some other guy, and I happened to be on the show. And afterwards, they're like, "Hey, would you be on Ferguson?" I was like, "Yeah, I'd be on." Ferguson. So those things that I was always thinking in my head, just work hard and it'll come to you.
Yeah.
And obviously, that's not the case for everything. But anyways, we're on the way. Me and my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, get in the car. And we're driving over to Ferguson, and she's just, she's not in the business, so she's not thinking. She's like, the guy's like, "Oh, you guys big, fans of the show?" And she's like, "Not really. No, she's like, we love Letterman.
We're a Letterman household.
Ferguson, I liked, and they had done like a month of shows before Ferguson took over with a bunch of different.
Yeah,
and she was like, "I really was hoping so and so again." And I'm like reaching over, grabbing her like knee, like squeezing it, like we're on the way to the show. We don't know who this guy knows over there.
Yeah.
Let's act like we're very happy to be here, which I was.
Yeah.
But she's just one of these honest people who thinks like, well, why wouldn't I just say how I feel? Like,
Yeah, little white lies.
Why
Yeah,
are you
little
turning
white
the
lies.
car around?
where are we going?
You missed the
Did
exit.
we leave something? Why are we going back home?
It's I don't know where it was in the run of the show, but it was fairly early on. Like the first time I saw him doing the puppets, like
Yes,
he did the
yeah.
monologue with the rabbit puppet, and I just, full disclosure here, I was probably stoned out of my gourd, and it's one of those things like you're flipping channels and you see a little rabbit, hello, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? What
That's
am
when
I
I loved
smoking?
him. Yeah.
And then you're like, all right, I'm gonna keep watching
Yeah,
this show.
yeah.
When when Letterman moved over to CBS, and it was the first week of everyone's new talk shows, because I'm a big late night fan.
Right.
Conan, the thing that got me, I think it was like his Wednesday or Thursday show. They come back from a commercial break, and all the press, if you remember around that time, all the press about Conan was, he's too nervous on screen.
Right,
Is this guy cut out for a show? And they come back from a commercial break, and he said, all right, and we'll be right back after. And like, I'm thinking, oh my God, he just came out of a commercial. Is he this bad? He goes, we'll be right back after an old man putting on Kiss makeup. And they do a cutaway, and there's an old guy like in full Gene Simmons makeup putting the final touches on like, one of the black areas around the eye. And he stops and he looks in the mirror and he sticks his tongue out like Gene Simmons. And I'm like, and now this is the show I am going to watch forever.
There's like Letterman lowering himself into the vat of water wearing the Alka-Seltzer suits.
Yeah,
Come
those
on.
moments where you're like, all right, I love this. It's different.
I love it.
That's what I loved about I love the puppets. That's when Ferguson won me over. Same kind of thing. Yeah. I had a Kiss joke I've never got to well, it's one of those sporadic jokes, and it was
the audience.
Now's the time.
But now that we've brought up Kiss makeup, I always loved, like, how did it happen the first time, the makeup? Like, they're a band, they're doing it, and then they're like, hey, what if we all do some cool kabuki makeup? And they're like, we're each our own thing. And they're like, all right, I like what you're doing. What are you going to do, Gene? I'm going to be a demon. All right. Paul, what are you going to be? I'm going to be like a starman, like a star. Okay. Ace, what are you? I'll be a spaceman. I'll be from space. Peter, I'm a kitty.
Yeah.
No, like a tiger? No, like a little cat with whiskers.
And at no point in that entire night was someone like, are we sure this isn't retarded? Are we positive that this isn't really dumb?
Exactly.
Well, and you got to figure by the time Vinnie Vincent got into the band, that they were out of ideas. What are you going to do? I don't know. One of those Egyptian symbols. Just put it on my face. It's like going to the drunk airbrush artist at the carnival, like doing the face painting.
That's what they had 3 good ideas for the paint.
Oh, my God.
And they were running out already. That's fantastic.
What else did you have on?
That's great. Just the voice too, because it's like so close to Peter Criss, but it's also that cat, almost a Snagglepuss cartoon.
Right,
Version.
yeah.
I'm gonna be
I'm a kitty. What?
Other than doing Letterman after you got your diagnosis, did you have anything else on your bucket list per se?
It's funny because it was that was everything, and it was I remember people all along the way were like, oh well, what do you think that's going to